We're here to solve this round trip puzzle by Ashish Kumar. Round trips is a genre that was created by Craig Casper and that we featured some of the very first puzzles of. And while we don't have it often on the site, key thing about it is to not fall into the trap of seeing loop ends you've already drawn, meaning there's not a crossing or intersection point in the same space. And so as we get going, a key thing to watch will be when we've marked unused edges. And until we've done that, like a space like this, if I haven't marked one of these edges as unused, I could still form this cross. And so don't think that this cell here is finished because I've got 2 lines into it. Till I have 2 lines and 2 crosses or 4 lines, it's not a finished cell. So to get started, we're going to take some of these large numbers. The large numbers have to account for the set of cells that they're going through. And so to have a 7 long section, we have to at least come through these 6 in the middle. To have a 6 long section, we have to come through these 4 in the middle. That's the same here and the same here. And in marking these in, we now have marked 3 edges, so these cells certainly go one further and extend like so. To be 5 long, we've got to come through these cells. And I think those are all the sure things to mark. One thing we can start to then do is ask, how do we start to do fulfillment on other clues? I notice that once we have these lines coming across, if we start going through them, we have to keep going through them until we hit another single point. And so I can make a 4-line segment section here, but the ask for this puzzle is to have 3 lines in the closest group to this border, and I can't do anything from this edge. This edge is dead because there are 2 ends used and only 1 end remaining. These could be there, but the only 3s I see are up top and right here. And so this is a pretty constraining spot, but it's, I think, the intended breakthrough for this puzzle. Marking those in as those 3s, we now have to think about how do I fulfill this 4 and this 2 coming across. Well, the 2 isn't going to be able to be across these because, again, this line section looks like that. So the 2 is sort of over here, either here or here. And the 4, even if it started all the way here, is always going to cross some of these cells. So there must be a cross through the middle. And we'll actually see that then this for sure is the 4. This is the 2. And having those in lets us now do a fair bit more. I'm going to mark these edges that we actually know are not used, which will help us see, I think, the path that anything like a 4 must take. And one of the reasons that's key is that this edge here is going to turn to the left or turn to the right, but it's not a crossing point anymore. So this edge must be part of the 4 overall, and it could come all the way here and look valid. And if it comes here, that's the end of it, and it's only 2. So this must go to the right to be valid. These ends have to keep coming up. This is now 2 with 1 cross, so we can put in the last cross. This has 2 ends it can't use, so must use this. We've put in something that's 6 large, and we'll put in this, which is the other 6 large. This then comes over 1 more cell. This end is the one that's going to be part of this 5 clue from the right, and this end is part of the 5 clue from the right, so this has to turn quickly. Get all the way to here, that's a valid 5. This has to turn to the left, also do this to form a valid 5. We can't take this cell, we can't come through this cell based on the other loop ends we've marked. We still have to then consider how we get a valid sort of path, and where this is the full 6, we can't have an earlier vertical section. So this has to come here, this goes up here, we can mark in that edge, mark off the things we can't be using to keep our bookkeeping clean. Again, where this 6 is the long section, it's not the shorter section, so we can mark that unused. That means this is turning up. This end is turning up and continuing up. It gets to here, gets to here. This now corner doesn't have more to do, so we get over to here. Get some shape like this. We can start to, at this point, recognize that we have to get a valid packing of these short sections, and the short sections are to come from these things immediately. If this came straight up and this came straight across, we do something like this, and you should see that that's almost forming a closed loop. If we did this and did this, this could also be forming an issue with a closed loop. So we may have to be actually tracking the ends that are going to cause an issue if they close in on themselves. And so one set of ends I'm tracking are these that come in, and the other set of ends to track, which do all these crossovers, are these 2 near the 7. So notice that these ends right now, this would close the loop on itself. And so instead this comes up, that comes down. Those all look valid. We now just have to get a set packing up here, and where this needs a 2, this has to come up, which means this end has to go down and over, and these last closures will finish the puzzle and complete it. So an interesting medium difficulty round trip puzzle. We have a lot more of these in the Loop Variety collection, where Ashish and Marat made a lot more puzzles of this style and the other styles in this week. So if you like these loop variations that we don't feature as often, that book is a place to find a lot more. So hope you learned something about round trip puzzles, and we'll see you again soon.